There was an interesting scripture that I read in the Bible in James chapter 5 verse 20. And just a little bit about the highlight of what that scripture is about is correcting other people's errors. Why it's important to correct people's errors. Why ngwana shapua, why re kgalengwelwa, why re bontshwa tsela e nepahetseng, just to correct other people's errors. And the reason why I just remembered this particular scripture, I think it is inspired by the Spirit or something this morning. The reason why I remembered this scripture is because I have experimented first and I tried to, take action upon this scripture and act in faith, maybe, if I could say that, and try to correct people's errors. And so far, the people that I've tried to do so with, that I've tried to show them the correct way of doing things, I've met up with some very stiff-necked people, some very stubborn people, some very hard-hearted people who didn't want to understand what I was saying. They were listening, but they didn't want to understand what I was saying. And instead, they were rebellious against what I was trying to tell them. And I ended up coming to conclusions that, you know what, I'm fed up and I'm done trying to correct people because I do not like the rebellious input that they often throw at me that, oh, when on an Mpiti, oh, you think you are perfect, you think you don't make mistakes, or you're being stupid, stuff like that. So I ended up coming to a conclusion that, you know what, I'm done trying to fix people's ways. And I remember this one question that I asked on the scripture of James 5:20. I asked this question at church and I was marveled by the answer that I received. And the question that I asked was, how then do we deal with people who are stiff-necked like that and do not want to receive the corrections that we are trying to give them? And if my conclusion is really the best conclusion to make, that I should leave them to do what they want to do. And the answer that I got was, no, that is actually wrong. We don't leave people to go fall. If you see me that I'm headed towards a cliff and you don't tell me that you are going to fall on a cliff, off a cliff actually. If I die, not in literal sense, but if I get hit because you didn't warn me, my blood is in your hands, right? So the guilt is going to be in you. My blood is going to be on your hands. So the reason why we should always correct people's errors and we should always warn people is so the guilt and the judgment that we will get from God is not towards us, but them. Their stupidity, their ignorance, their stubbornness should be the one thing that they pay for. But if you don't warn a person, you get to that's what I'm trying to explain. So when you correct somebody's errors, irregardless of how they're going to respond, in heaven it is recorded that that record and that warning has been passed from you to that person. Now everything is upon their hands. Your hands are now clean in this case. But if you so decide to keep quiet, you are also an accomplice in that matter. So ever since I had that response, I got that response, I have never ceased to try and correct people's ways. I have never stopped thinking that I should just let people be. I don't let people be. Because if I know, like how I know at the moment that alcohol is bad for you, maybe smoking is bad for you, and my friend or someone close to me is drinking and smoking, maybe they might not understand the true meaning of the word of wisdom or the law of good health that God gave us. And if I so decide to keep quiet about it, then I'm an accomplice in the matter of his spirituality. That's what it is. I am an accomplice in that matter. So the judgment of his judgment and his penalty, I get to share it with him. But if I warn him and I invite him and I teach him and I give him everything that's concerned about health and acknowledging that our bodies are temples, I actually save him and I save myself. But the response to what I just told him is now up to him. My hands are no more involved in that matter. So ever since I got that answer, it's been wonderful now, correcting people's errors and even being a sponge myself and allowing other people to even correct my errors, because I'm not going to be the only one correcting other people's errors, So it's kind of cool knowing that I should be humble enough to be corrected, and I should be loving enough to correct other people. Because the point of correcting is not to say I'm better than you. You should follow my lead. No, it's I'm imperfect, you're imperfect. But what you're doing, it's a different kind of imperfection, while what I'm doing also might be a different kind of imperfection. You can correct me, I will correct you. I think that's the best definition of love. We are both insufficient in the eyes. No, I don't think in the eyes of God. We are insufficient in our own eyes. And spiritually, we are insufficient because of our faith that we so lack. But the whole point of humanity in God is growing stronger in love, charity, the pure love of God, together. So I correct you, you correct me, we both grow. I keep quiet, waijela, kijela lwen. You say something, we are both saved. So, yeah. Remember to correct people's errors.